All right, I'm ready. In order to move forward, you got to know where you've been. So in order for this to make sense, I need to take y'all back a little bit. A couple of years ago, I started working with Term, with Slaine, with Arc out of the bridge. These are the songs that catapulted me to where I was. The first time that I met Term was at the bridge with Arc. It was the first time I've been there, first time I worked with either one of them. But I remember being really nervous walking into the booth, you know, because it was a big deal. It was the nicest studio I've ever been in at the time. And I remember when I was in there, you know, doing a mic check and everything, and I just said, fuck it, let it go. And that's when we recorded Dreams. A few months after that, I dropped They Think They Know with Slaine. What's significant is that this is when the blogs started to pick up my name, started to write about me. This is when things started to grow. Then Term and I, we put out the video for it. This was the thing that got me featured into the Source magazine, Hip Hop DX, Hype Mag, you know, you name it, they picked it up. And it's also the song that got me spun on the radio for the first time on Rap Is Out of Control with DJ E. And then shortly after that, Static Selector picked it up. He spun it on Show Off on Shade 4-5. Me being from Fall River, nobody's ever done these things before in my city. These are all big deals. You know, this is how you get to the next level. And every time I released a new project, I was leveling up. In this time frame, I linked with Arc, and the idea was to build off of the momentum and start working on an album. So I kept releasing single after single after single, video after video after video. My name was starting to ring bells. So this was 2018, 2019. What ended up happening is my grandmother got really sick. I was still trying to balance everything, you know, go to the studio, do the shows, write the songs, you know, meet with the producers, sit down with the videographer, go to the photo shoots. Like, I'm trying to keep everything going. And at the same time, what nobody realizes is that I had gone back to school to get my business degree. So I'm trying to balance all this shit and go to school at night, survive off of a couple hours of sleep, and then wake up and pretend like everything's all good when it's not. And so my grandmother's at Beth Israel. And so I go to visit her, and it's just me and her in the room. You know, the nurse walks in and she's trying to tell me what's going on. You know, nothing's really registering at this point. She wakes up for, you know, for like a brief minute, but she's, you know, she's out of it. You know, so we have a quick conversation and I hang out there for a little while and then I leave. But then this became a recurrence where she was constantly, you know, going back to the hospital or being taken by ambulance. Christmas 2018, you know, she had to go to the hospital. You know, she tried to make it through Christmas. She wasn't able to. She had to leave in the middle of it. And this time, you know, they send her over to Mass General. And typically, you know, when that happens, it means something not good going on. And that's when the doctors start telling us, you know, we think she might have about 6 months to live. And so it's still not registering to me. She gets sick, she goes to the hospital, she bounces back, tough ass Irish woman. And so my mother says, hey, let's go out to eat. So we go to a local pizza joint and we sit down and I could tell something's wrong. You know, she tells me, you know, they think she's got about 2 weeks left. Okay. Excused myself from the table, went outside, you know, toughened up my chest. You know, went back in. I remember on the way home, I was driving myself home and bawling my eyes out like a baby. And I was literally pleading with God not to take her from me. Like, I'll give you anything you want. I'll do anything you want. You know, just don't take her. And so the next day I went back and she's still sleeping. You know, a lot of the family is there. My uncle's there. And you know, she wakes up for a brief moment and, you know, I won't go into all the details, but, you know, she just really didn't remember much, you know, couldn't tell who's who, things like that. The next night, I go up there to visit her and I sit next to my grandfather and I'm trying to be all like jovial, like, yo, what's going on, peeps? You know, da-da-da-da, trying to keep it light. And he says to me, she's gone to sleep. I was like, what do you mean, she's sleeping? She's like, nah, she's gone to sleep. So this time I'm thinking, did she pass? Not yet. But they, you know, without my knowledge, they administered the drug to you know, help her drift off peacefully. And so now I'm like, this shit is real. Now it hit me. It took all that for it to finally hit me. I had my last conversation with her. And I told her she was beautiful. And I rubbed her hair. And I gave her a kiss on the forehead. And I told her I loved her. And that was the last thing I ever said to her. It took me a long time to fall asleep that night because I knew it was just a matter of time. And so I think the thing that I remember the most was the breathing. It was different. Really long pauses in between. You know, you could just tell the soul was leaving the body. The next thing that I hear is my grandfather say, "Is she breathing?" And my aunt says, "No." And he says, "Call it. Time of death, 4:30. So I got up immediately, dead winter, 4:30 in the morning, threw my jacket on and my boots, went into my car. And the first thing I did was, you know, spark a square and turn my car on. And the first song that I hear is "I'll Be Missing You," the Faith Evans part. And I was like, damn, if that ain't a sign, I don't know what one is then. And I went back in the house and, you know, I thought I was in the car for maybe 5 or 10 minutes and it ended up being closer to an hour. And the first thing that my grandfather does when he wakes up in the morning is he always makes a pot of coffee. And so he's making his pot of coffee and he comes up to me and he apologizes. And he says, "I'm sorry, Scoot. I know how much she meant to you." And the only thing that I was thinking was, is this man just lost his wife of almost 50 years and he's actually coming up to me and he's apologizing because I lost my grandmother when he lost his wife. And then I get a text message and it's music related. And then I realized it's like, this business doesn't stop. Just because you're going through some shit doesn't mean that you can take a break. And so now I'm trying to juggle the death of my grandmother who raised me from a child, to night school, to my personal life, to my girl, to everything. Now I'm just trying to balance it all. And I feel like the weight of the world is on my shoulders. And I just keep moving. And so shortly thereafter, you know, my grandfather, he's sick. You know, he's already in the final stages of cancer. Doesn't complain, does all the treatments, the chemo, all of that. And so now I temporarily move in with him. I mean, I'm still paying all the bills at my crib, but now I'm living with him and I'm taking care of him. So, you know, I'm cooking us dinner and we're going to the post office and we're going grocery shopping, and I'm just trying to make his life as normal as possible. You know, I can't just leave him there in that house by himself. And I'm grateful for the time that I got to spend with him one-on-one, because I didn't know it was going to be so short-lived. It's about 7 o'clock and my phone rings and it's my mom. And she says, he doesn't have much longer to live. Like, he's going to die today. Like, he's dying right now and he has no idea. And I can't tell him. I can't say nothing. You know, I just have to act like it's a regular day and, you know, crack jokes and all that. The last thing that I told him was, you know, "I love you." And I knew it was going to be the last thing that I said to him. "I love you, Scoot." And I hung up the phone and I bawled my eyes out like a little kid. And then I had to proceed with my day as usual. You know, again, this shit doesn't stop. A few hours later, I got the phone call that he passed away. And so my grandmother, she passed away February 26, 2019. My grandfather passed away August 26th, 2019. Exactly 6 months to the day.